In this video, we'll go over the insert tool and how it functions. Now, I mentioned this in the module overview, but I'll just kind of repeat it here in the video, that the purpose of the insert tool is to insert blocks. And now blocks are reusable pieces of content that you can put in your drawing. Blocks are heavily used, especially in the field of architecture, because there are lots of different symbols and references that I may want to put in drawings over and over and over and over again. And then rather than drawing them out every single time I need to place a bed in a room or reference a door in a room, I can just use the block, which will then allow me to have all of this detail in my drawing and be able to get my drawing done a lot faster. Now, the other thing I mentioned in the video, or rather in the module overview, is that your school computer has some security restrictions in place which don't allow you to access the place that a lot of blocks and references are typically located. So I'm going to show you how the insert tool would typically work and how it'll work on your certification exam, or if you ever go into the line of drafting and you become a draftsman, how that insert tool would typically function. And then I'll also show you a little workaround that we found to still be able to use blocks and content in our drawings. So the insert tool is located right up here in our toolbar, in our home ribbon. There's also a whole insert toolbar as well, so you can switch to the insert one, which will give us a couple of more different buttons that we can reference for. But really, we're not going to go past really using this insert button, so it won't be too much of a struggle for us. But we can attach different references into drawings as well. So like I could put a picture, perhaps, in a drawing and attach it there and just be able to use it as something to kind of trace over. So maybe if I was trying to figure out the site for my house, I could put in a picture of a map of it, and then I can use that to kind of just reference the boundaries of the piece of land that I'm building on or things like that. So my insert button, like I said, is right here, or it is keyboard shortcut I, and that'll open up the insert menu. So when I open up the insert tool, and also if I do it from here, I can click on this and it'll give me a little drop down of all the blocks that I currently have in this drawing. But since I'm using a completely empty drawing, that kind of is a null point for us. So then I could go to blocks from libraries and it'll open up the same thing that I tool, that insert tool, does. Now, this is referencing a library that I told it to go to, so it went to a file called Armchairs that I downloaded off the internet, and it's got lots of different reference or pictures of armchairs in here. So, these are all armchairs in what's called elevation. So that means it's looking at it either head on or like from the side. So this wouldn't be ideal for a floor plan, but it is just kind of to show you how the tool functions. So I can go from this library here, click on the ones I want, click where I want it to place, and then I just zoom out and I've got my armchair here. I could go for a different file as well to reference. So if I click on this little drop down, I can browse my libraries, and this is where you would get restricted as a student because you can't look in my downloads, you can't look in my documents and things like that. And so this is where I could go find lots of different files that I might already have if I have specific drawings that I want to reference, or files that maybe I've set up personally. I could have lots of those libraries just pre-set up with all of my blocks and things for me. And so I could say I want to look at dining tables and click on open, and it'll go find these files for me. And it looks like this person, the way they set this up, because I did just download this off the internet, they didn't separate each chair or every table individually like this one did. But I still could just click on the file and then click to place it, or maybe not. There we go. Click to place it, and I have lots of dining tables in here. One thing you may notice here is that like all of these tables, and even with this armchair, they're attached to each other. So if I hover over one, all of the tables get highlighted. Now, if I'm trying to use these in my drawing, I don't want every single one of these tables. I'm typically just saying, oh, well, I really just want this table, but I got every single one of them. And that's where we can use some of these insert options here. So this one right here, insertion point, just means, do you want to define it by a coordinate based on these blocks? So right now it's just inserting it based on, which that keyboard's in the way, based on what the coordinate of 0, 0 is on it. Or you can have it where it's just inserting based on a specific point that the user who made the block defined. You can also have it where you're scaling it before you put in. So if I check that off, now when I go to put this block in, I can click to place it, and now it's asking me, how do you want to scale it? So I could say I want to make it 2 times on the X, 2 times on the Y, and now we can see that these tables are twice as big. So if I wanted to scale while I inserted, I could check that off. Or I could just have it where I define that beforehand, so if I don't check that off, and I say I want 2, 2, and then go to insert these tables, it'll scale it before I put them in. If I want to keep them as what they are automatically, I'm just going to leave those all as 1. And if I want to make sure things are getting inserted proportionally, I want to make sure that these numbers match each other. So if I, for instance, make the scale factor on the x-axis 3, when I go to insert these dining tables, they're going to be distorted because I scaled it to be 3 times as long as it is tall, so they got a little bit distorted. In some cases, maybe you want that, or maybe if I was putting in like a shrub and I wanted it to just be longer than it is taller. But in most cases, we want to keep all of these numbers to be the same. Same thing with rotation, is I could say that I want to rotate it, or I want to define how to rotate it after I insert it. So this time I'll go back to the armchairs file, and I'll say I want to put this chair in, and I'll zoom in so we can see me put it in. And now I can define an angle to rotate it at, so I'll say I want to rotate it 30 degrees. Or if I leave that unchecked, I can define beforehand that I want 30 degrees, put my chair in, and it'll just automatically be at that angle before I put it in. And I'll put that back to 0. Repeat placement would allow me to put multiple ones in without having to keep coming back to this menu to click on them. So I can click on the block, place, place, and just place multiple copies as I go without having to go back in. All I need to do at the end is just to hit escape to finish off. And then this final option is to explode, which would separate it. So this is the option that I frequently use when inserting blocks, because we can see here that everything is grouped as one piece, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for these chairs. But if I check off explode and go to put my block in, where is it? That's weird. There we go. Now it got put in. That's a little bizarre. So I'll do it with this same chair too. Is I'll click to place it. And it's weird that it didn't explode this one, but it did this one. But it separated it into different lines and different polylines and pieces. I'm guessing that's just based on how the person who made it made the file. But the explode tool can be very helpful for things like these tables. So if I come here to this dining tables and I have explode checked off, when I go to insert the tables now, let me zoom out. and I place them, each piece is individual. So it's no longer that these are all one piece. So then I could easily just go highlight the ones I don't want and hit the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of them. Now, I can also just look in my recent blocks that I may have inserted, and it'll have ones from multiple files. So for instance, like this little lamppost that I've used before in files, this door reference that I've used before, so that this way, rather than having to draw this out every single time I need to place a door in my house, I can just quickly, zip bam boom, have a door placed. Now, because you can't access this little menu here, just wanted to make sure you were aware of it and can reference it, purely because there are probably going to be some questions on your certification exam regarding using this style for the insert tool. We'll go over the little workaround I have as a teacher for the insert tool. So I'm just going to close out this drawing here. And so I have here some blocks that, or rather those same blocks we were looking at, downloaded from the internet. So what I did was I went online and I searched for the word CAD block. I spelled it incorrectly, but I searched for the word CAD block. And there are some great websites out there. One of them that I like is cadblocks.com, cadblocks.net, DWG models. So I'm just clicking with my scroll wheel to open these in new tabs up here. CAD Blocks free, I'm not sure if that's, I haven't looked at those, but I'll just open up a couple of different ones here. So with some of these websites, some of these blocks cost money, and I'll just get rid of the keyboard. So we can see here that these blocks, this one costs $5, $29. Some people get angry that they cost money. Personally, I think that the person who made these blocks had to put a lot of effort into drawing out all of the details for this truck, and they deserve the $5 to give it to you. But not all of them necessarily cost money. So for instance, if I wanted, a bed for a house, I could just search for beds up at the top. And again, some cost money, but not all of them do. So here's some free beds. Here's some more free beds. Here are just some, I try to go for, when it comes to blocks, just kind of more plain, simple ones. But if it doesn't have that little $5 thing, that means that it's free. And so here's some beds, and they have them in both elevation, looking at them from the front and the side, as well as a top view, which would be a plan. And you'll just click on Download CAD Blocks, and then just click on that file to open it. And then it opens it up as an plain drawing. Then what you'll do is, I'll open up my blank drawing, is you will take the one you want. So I'll say that I want, we have size references here. I guess this is a full, this is a queen, this is a king. I'll just highlight the one I want, and I'll put my keyboard back up on here. So after I highlight that, I'll just do Control-C to copy, go into my AutoCAD drawing, Control-V to paste it. And I'll click to paste it, which I guess I didn't copy correctly, because that's just a Google Drive link. Highlight the whole thing, Control-C, I hit Z while I was doing that. How did I manage to do that? Control-C to copy, go into my AutoCAD drawing, Control-V to paste. And then I can just click to place it, and I'll zoom out. And it typically is not going to be the size that we want it to be, so then we'll have to scale it down based on our scale factor. And the next video goes over that in a little bit more detail and just kind of reviews how to do something like that. So again, let's go to like another website just so we can see how some of them work. So cadblocks.net is another website that I like. They've got furniture, bathroom, vegetation, cars, loads of different stuff we can put in there. So I'll go to like the cars and vehicles one, And they have them typically separated by like what they typically do. So we've got cars and plan, we've got construction equipment, we've got planes, buses. I'll download the buses. So I'll click on that. I'll scroll down, and this one website, the download link sometimes is a little tricky. There's a bunch of ads on it, but we've got, that is the download link. And so I'll click on it, and it'll download them. I'll open it up. I'll double click, and it'll alert me that since it's in a zipped folder, I can only open it as a read-only, which isn't going to be an issue for me. So I'm just going to click on yes. Won't be an issue for you either. Again, I'll just find the block that I want. So I want this truck. And I'll click on it. Control C to copy it. Go into my AutoCAD drawing. Control V to paste. And again, the size might not be great, but we can then scale it to be the size that we want. The reason why the sizes might be off is because the person who made the block could have made it in millimeters, or most likely made it in millimeters, and when we copy paste it into our drawing, those millimeters are read as inches, and then it comes in much larger than what we want, or sometimes even much smaller than we want. The copy paste method is a little it's not ideal. It'd be much better to use this insert method, which now if I go to insert 2, it'll just give me the block in this little drop down. And we can see here that when I insert it in this way, it's much smaller of a truck. So our little copy paste method is our little workaround for being able to use blocks. And then in the next video, I'll go over how to scale them around. So there's lots of different websites out there. Again, some of them have what they call premium, or just ones that cost money. In this course, I'm never going to require you go purchase a block, but just kind of be aware that some of them are, and you can just make sure you're using ones that are free. But again, if I wanted, you know, these hot tubs in here, I could just find the block I want, download it, open the file up, pick the one I want, Control C to copy it, go into my drawing, Control V to paste it. Then if you ever, can that thing go away please? Let me refresh my drawing to make this spa baths thing go away. There we go. If you want to change like colors or properties associated with it, you can just click on it and switch its layer. And if the layer doesn't change, you can always then come over here and switch it. Sometimes you might need to explode the block in order to be able to change the layers as well. So sometimes you might switch the layer, but the colors don't change at all. So you're saying, well, I have it in this white layer, but it's still showing up as black. So then you might need to click on the block and use the explode tool, which again is right up here, or keyboard shortcut X, enter. And now this is no longer considered a block. Now it is just a series of shapes and features. So now it's just a bunch of polylines. And I could even then, if I wanted to, switch each piece individually. So if I wanted to make different colors to it, or add different hatches into areas, I can. But in order to be able to change it individually like that, I do have to use the explode command first. So yeah, that is an introduction to the insert tool and just how to use blocks, as well as our little workaround. We'll go over that workaround a little bit more in the next video, so that way you're ready for your big assignment in this module. For this assignment, you're just going to be kind of finding different references for various pieces, as well as just reviewing kind of some of those different features in the insert tool. So what some of these different features do, there's just a few questions about them as a little review. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know.